got people out there who need you. This is why you're here, Bee.
Hello once again, watchers of Good Movies. My name is Nick Pell, and this is my review of Bumblebee. Now, as far as I'm aware, this is basically serving as a prequel to the Transformers films that we have known and hate, basically. And the film focuses primarily on the Transformer Bumblebee, as the title would imply. It shows basically how he ended up on Earth, how he lost his voice, more or less, and introduces him to his first human interaction, and we get to see the film more or less take place kind of in a formulaic fashion, but it's a fun time regardless. One thing which I did not really expect is the way that the film basically starts out, and it basically shows us the fall of Cybertron, and this is a really cool scene, and something which really makes me want a legitimate like fall of Cybertron film, where we get to see this whole encounter and thing take place, because I think that would be an amazing film to watch if it was done right. So the film starts out in that fashion. We can see, like I said, how Bumblebee ends up going from there to Earth, how he ends up kind of in the state that he is in when Haley Steinfeld's Charlie character ends up finding him, and she fixes him up, and basically they end up being best friends, and you get the film. Haley Steinfeld did a pretty good job in this film. She's kind of a hit or miss actress for me, I've kind of come to realize with a lot of her films, but I thought she did a good performance in this film regardless. She has this past which she's working through throughout the course of the film. She has kind of this antagonistic relationship with her parents and her brother, and she's just not in the best mood and place in her life at the moment where the film begins. And you get to see her interactions with Bumblebee kind of help to shape her and move her towards that resolution that you would kind of expect. Her relationship with Bumblebee is probably one of the funnest parts of the film, because just as you get to see them interact more and more, you get to see this relationship develop, see them begin to trust one another, and it's just a really fun story. And it's done differently than it is in the first Transformers with Shia LaBeouf. So that's kind of a fun comparison to see, and I'm sure people will do it since it's two interactions with the same character, essentially. John Cena is more or less the human antagonist in this film. He does fine in the job. He doesn't really have a lot of stuff to work with, I don't think, but he has some funny lines, some funny dialogue, and it kind of added to the comedic elements of this film with his character. There's comedic elements in regards to Bumblebee as well, just kind of how he is interacting with the world, that this Earth that he has no real knowledge of, and figuring out how things function. There's a scene where he's in a house, I'll just say that, which just had me laughing hysterically because it's just so well done and really, really funny. And then the CGI and special effects, as you expect, this is Transformers. They're going to look fantastic. Michael Bay basically perfected the Transformers look, in my opinion, and so all those elements are pretty much carried over from his era. But it does seem like they've been polished up. Maybe some unnecessary details have been removed. I saw some behind the scenes stuff at the showing I got to go to, where they basically talked about how they went back to kind of generation 1 of Transformers, and they basically just kind of simplified everything and brought it back to its roots, which I think is a good idea with the chaos that was the fifth Transformers movie. The CGI special effects for both Bumblebee and the Decepticons, which he encounters on Earth, as well as the explosions and all that type of stuff, all looks really well done, and I had no real issues in that regard. But ultimately what really separates this film from the other Transformers films, in my opinion, is that this does feel like a coming-of-age story, and something that you have to, I think, kind of know going into it, because I wasn't really expecting that, and the film did kind of feel a little bit slow throughout as a result, because I was kind of used to the big action-packed Transformers films that we have had before. This one is a much slower paced film. It kind of just takes its time getting to the action of the third act. It's not just explosions every 20 seconds like with Michael Bay's films. So it's a coming of age story in regards to Haley Steinfeld, primarily her relationship with Bumblebee and a friend or a neighbor that she ends up becoming friends with and sharing the secret with, and makes for a good story in that regard. And so just knowing that going into it, I think you'll have a better time with the film, I would think. As long as you're not really expecting, like I said, the explosion-heavy, action proficient Michael Bay-esque films. But by the end of the film, it does feel like its own standalone film. Like I said, it is supposed to be a prequel to the Transformers saga that we have come to know and love. But it does feel like its own entity. So if you haven't seen any of the Transformers films prior, you don't really need to know a lot of stuff going into this, in my opinion at least. And that being said, I'm really curious to see, assuming that this film does well enough and makes enough money to warrant a sequel, how they would continue with this kind of soft reboot of the franchise. Would they do a Bumblebee 2 with a new cast of some sort? Or would they bring back Haley Steinfeld and the other supporting cast members? Would they do like this Fall of Cybertron spin-off type of thing? I'm really curious to see, assuming that this film does well, what they will end up doing with the franchise. So it'd be interesting to keep an eye out for that. But guys, overall, I had a fun time with Bumblebee. It was a refreshing take on the Transformers franchise, and I am excited to see where this franchise can go. Special effects, as you expect, look fantastic. Haley Steinfeld did a really good job in regards to her character and her relationship with Bumblebee. The film can just feel a little bit slow at times. That's the only real criticism I had for it. But guys, those are my thoughts on Bumblebee. Let me know yours in the comments down below. Did you like it as much as I did? Did you hate it more than I did? Let me know. Let me know your favorite Transformer, your favorite Transformers film, what you want them to do with the franchise going forward. I'd be really curious to see what your thoughts are in that regard. Make sure to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe if you so choose. I appreciate it immensely. And as always, people, my name is Nick Pell. And once again, keep on watching.